You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Put that coffee down.
I'm a British nanny, and I'm dangerous.
It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
That was totally wicked!
It's the Al Travis Show. Our next guest is always a pleasure to have on. She's Representative Natalie Zeleznikar. Representative, just because I don't remember everything, you're 3B, but they no longer list the town that's from, so you're very safe to tell me. What city do you live in? Where are you from? Where's 3?
3B is northeastern Minnesota, which would be Two Harbors, Hermantown, Proctor, Gary, New Duluth, Rice Lake. Those are the cities. And then there's 14 townships that surround it into the greater Minnesota area. And I live in one of the townships. Okay, fair enough. I thank you for doing the program with us today. Sure. Before we went on, we are just kind of discussing that 2025 is just going to go down like a year like none other. For a guy like me trying to find out what are we going to talk about today, there just never seems to be an end. This summer started with the shooting, of course, of the Hoffmans and the Hortmans. Mm-hmm. And now we're bookcasing that with the shooting in the Minneapolis Catholic school. Just your feelings and thoughts off the top of what we saw here this week. I think it just confirms what I've said since I started, that we have a 40% increase in mental health since COVID. And that's just fact. And it's rearing its ugly head across our state and nation. And I spent a lot of time going around the correction facilities, and we have inadequate number of beds. From my perspective, we have 90 psych beds in Anoka, and that's for 5.7 million people that live in Minnesota, and we're shipping kids to North Dakota for 10 years old. So we don't have systems in place, and we've addressed this. So there's gaps in mental health, and that is what we're dealing with, and it's showing up. And we knew that. All of us know that. And I love the sentiment, by the way. I think you're 100% correct. I think the interesting thing about that, I don't know if this crazy person would have got caught even if we had beds. It didn't seem like he was doing doctoring of that sort. So I don't know. But to your point, naked guy in the Capitol, evidently being naked in the Capitol and just being there showering, doing whatever you're going to do, isn't enough. Talking that you're the governor, that isn't enough to get you a bed in Minnesota. You're not to the level of we need to get you help. It shows us that there's a lack of beds here. I don't know how that guy was let go once, twice, 3 times to go back and do his craziness. And again, there has to be drugs or something involved. I have no idea. But I get your point, and am I wrong here? Doesn't that showcase? If you think you're the governor and you're naked in the Senate office, but I think that's enough for a bed for the night. Let's have you talk to a professional in the morning. I would think so. And so you're absolutely right. So when there aren't beds for those levels, and this situation that happened in Minneapolis and the situations that have happened that are horrific, heinous acts of violence, I mean, I don't know. There were flags probably along the way with these people, and so having resources available, we've been working hard on telehealth for mental health services, making sure that we have local control for school funding. We need to have more counselors available for in various ages, whether it's adults, school age kids, access. You can't wait for 6 months to a year to get into a mental health provider if you're having a mental health crisis. So my point is that there's a variety of services that have to get in place. And unfortunately, when we had $18.5 billion, some of those things were not prioritized. They weren't. So the SHIELD Act was proposed in 23 when I came. That was a bill that I authored and was on there with the chief author. And I thought there's a strong likelihood this is going to happen. We have a governor that was a teacher. Has an idea of this too. So, but it didn't. There were other misplaced priorities in my mind of where that 18.5 billion went in securing schools. I've been in communities with parents at our schools, and that's the one thing the parents want. They want this. and they've wanted it for a while. And there's a mirage of possibilities, but it was off the table for conversation to get it to the finish line. And so I'm hoping that some of that is going to change.
Yeah, I would completely agree. I think Al, Dr. filling this a little bit, I think at some point we, as a state, as humans, have to get by the stigma of what this could mean. And what I mean by that is, we're trying hard on this show. Once a month, we have the suicide awareness guy gets come on. This young man wanted to kill himself and do something on his way out the door. I find it hard to believe because I think there were 60 some followers on whatever he put up his little manifesto thing. He has friends. Somebody saw his Facebook page. I don't know what the kids use anymore, but whatever it is, he had parents. Right. Somewhere along the line, somebody had to notice the kid might be a little off bubble, or I don't know how to, a little nuts, but did not want to say, hey, we got to get you some help. And I presume it's the stigma behind it. If I'm wrong, he's going to hate me. If I'm right, now he's crazy. I think there's something to getting rid of that stigma. And maybe we all got to figure that out and say, hey, see something, say something. I will find this hard to believe they look back at this kid for the last 5 years and say there was no warning signs. I just won't believe
I think that's, to your point, the thing that when I traveled the state to see is there's just a lack of resources for the behavioral health beds before it's the psych hospital in Anoka in community-based treatment where you're getting seen timely, and there's the lack of professional resources available at various levels with behavioral therapists and psychiatrists and all of it, and counselors. And so for sure, I believe that there probably was warning signs on many of these things. And so, and having the suicide prevention, we did things for veterans this year with suicide prevention. Suicide and these issues of going on for mental health have to be the forefront of what we're talking about. Because the tool that people use is secondary. And what if they do snap? And so we have to make sure we're looking at what are we doing along the way for children and for adults and for seniors who are struggling with mental health. We don't have enough geriatric psychiatric beds for seniors. The hospitals don't have it. There's not regional settings for adults, and so we cannot wait till it escalates to the most horrific violence. To have it qualified to count for getting help or getting attention, and at that point, it's way down the path. We need to get these things early, and so I'm hoping that that's going to be something we can work on bipartisanly. We should, because I think Minnesotans, that's what they expect and want.
Well, I think Minnesotans expect and want it, but I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think anymore I feel that can happen. And let me be Mr. Naysayer here. When my buddy John Hoffman and his wife get shot, when the Hortmans get killed, and lunatic guy, and there's different sizes of lunatics here. This guy was methodical. He ordered his outfit, got his car lined up. I mean, this guy had a plan. There's cray-cray out there. Now, again, I'm going to tell you, I don't know that there's any way I could believe you had roommates, friends, neighbors, and they didn't know you were off bubble. But he neither here nor there. When this thing happens, everybody, all sides of my political friendships, all said, we got to stop. Got to stop the rhetoric. We got to start getting better about this. Let's start getting along more. We'll work through the problems. Everybody said all the right things. And I told him at the time, said, if this lasts 2 months, I'll be impressed. You know what? It lasts almost 3. Mm-hmm. And then we start hearing about we're going to need the gun thing, the game thing. And then this tragedy happens this week at the school, at the Catholic school, the church. And literally within hours, people are making this about something else. Again, I'm going to tell you, it's somebody who's off bubble. Somebody did something bad. There's no lying about it. But they come out and don't say, you keep your prayers to yourself. We got to start thinking about what laws we can change.
Yeah.
That was hours after this thing happened. We got to find a way, and I'm sorry, I don't think there is. There are people that want to make political hay out of what's happened.
I think you're wrong.
Good.
I don't think you're wrong. I think.
Oh, you think?
I think there's a lot of emotions that are very high right now, and I understand the horrific events that have went on in this last year, and I wish it was different too. It's a situation we're faced with as legislators on both sides of the aisle. We're going to have to walk through this, and the perspectives that we have are vary. I mean, they vary on how we're going to address it. They vary on the core issues. What is the real core issues when you peel the onion back? I mean, what is going on and what can we do? People talk about downstream a lot and prevention, prevention, how we prevent crime, how we do, intervene early, don't intervene late. But mental health has to be addressed. I mean, we have to address this, and we have to find a way to have a conversation on what that pathway is going to look like to help people, because there's something going on, and the numbers, the statistics show there's a 40% increase in mental health. So then what do we as Minnesotans do with this data that we have? Just accept that it's 40%? I don't think we can do that. I don't think we can just say, oh, it's 40%. That's too bad. It's unfortunate. Let's just see what happens. Seeing what happens, that's not going to be a good solution.
See, and I don't disagree with you. I also think everyone, and influencers and everybody else, whatever you want to call it anymore, politicians for sure, understand that your words mean something. And I will use this to you, Representative. John Hoffman actually started the DNC convention that was here last week. He gave a 10-minute speech about dumping all this partisanship, stop using it was a fantastic 10-minute speech. Now, he's a friend of mine. I give him credit for that, but he also got shot 9 times. He's up here telling people what he believes. I give him all the credit in the world. And 10 minutes later, the governor was up telling all of us folks that might have voted against him that what's our biggest thing today is trying to figure out what stupid hat we're going to wear. And, what's the best way we're going to be is try to be as cruel as possible. And he didn't hear John Hoffman speak. And I guess my point is, until I can get all of you to say that's not me anymore, the governor should know better. I mean, every time he's heard his friends got hurt. I get it. Tough times, and I love that you say, hey, I'm not happy this is where I'm at, but this is where we're at in 2025. He has to step up his game. He can't call us all a bunch of lunatics because we voted for Trump and expect people that are off bubble to not say, oh, look at that. I can go, you know what I'm saying? We feed people into their anger when we use words like that.
I 100% agree. And I think, there are people that I've said the same thing. I've said, look, if the governor says be meaner, and he's a former educator, a teacher of all things, would not say that. And we have to lead by example. I think it's important to lead by example. And then when you're in the highest position in the state of Minnesota, then people are going to have an evaluation of your words and say, look, this is probably not the best thing. And in this situation, I think what happens is when we're looking at, all the media is asking, what's our solutions? What's our solutions? And so the other side of the aisle see that as you're attacking their governor. Nobody's attacking the governor. I'm not attacking the governor either. I'm just saying, look, there were choices made in 23. There were choices made in 24. There were choices made in 25. And we did have $18.5 billion. And so my perspective, like it or not, is that there were misplaced priorities on where we put some of the money. And that's just the reality. That's from me speaking as a Republican. I believe there were some choices made on how we prioritize money being spent for our state that I would have liked to see be done different. And that offends people for me to say that. But the reality is that we are here today and we have a deficit going into this next session, and we still have a significant mental health issue that is top of mind for everybody in Minnesota that we have to find a way to deal with and have a conversation that's healthy.
And do you think that will still be top of the mind by February? With the way this year's going, something else is going to happen, and it'll just be the other thing. Remember what happened last year, or will this stay on top of the mind?
It's going to stay top of mind. I really do. I could be wrong, but my perspective, just in the people I talk to in our district and across the state, that they're very concerned. They're very concerned to see crime and violence increasing in the state of Minnesota, wherever it is. And I think public safety is going to be on everyone's mind when we go into 25 session.
All right. We'll talk about it. We'll do it right after this with Representative Natalie Zeleznikar, right after these messages.
Think about it. A famous politician once said, "You're entitled to your opinion, but you are not entitled to your own facts. But in a world full of AI and fake news, where can Minnesotans find the facts? Center of the American Experiment is Minnesota's go-to source for fact-based analysis and common sense solutions for taxes, energy, public safety, and our kids' education. Visit AmericanExperiment.org for more information. Think About It is brought to you by Center of the American Experiment, Minnesota's think tank.
Achieving your financial goals requires individual planning and a comprehensive approach. At Midwest Money Management, our mission is to provide you with the knowledge, tools, and confidence to feel comfortable financially today and secure about tomorrow. Learn more at MidwestMoneyManagement.com. That's MidwestMoneyManagement.com.
Securities offered through JW Cole Financial Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through JW Cole Advisors Inc., Midwest Money Management, and JW Cole Financial Inc. and JW Cole Advisors Inc. are unaffiliated entities.
The Al Travis Show, the last place you can go and hear all sides. Respectful, thoughtful, and grateful.
And we try to be in, I would like to clarify this, Representative Natalie Zeleznikar with us, Zeleznikar. When I get on the governor for what he said, he can have his feelings. He can read the room. He was in the DNC meeting. I get how your group, the people there, might have been wanting to hear all that. But as a 12-year congressman, a 7-year governor, a guy who ran for the vice president of the United States of America, and you know the cameras are there and what you're doing, you have to know others are going to see and hear this. This is the news across, it was across the state of Minnesota. I expect more out of my leadership. And I think I can expect him to say, hey, I don't need to go down this road. I'll take John Hoffman's lead. And and he didn't. So I expect more out of him. He can have his feelings, but I'll ask you, Representative, so you're not the governor, you haven't been a congresswoman, all the rest, but you're a representative for the 3rd District. What is it you can do to help change this? What are you doing to help change the culture?
I was selected by the Citizens League for Minnesota, which is not a lobbyist group. It's a group that pairs legislators that are opposite parties. So I was selected to be paired with Ned Carroll, who's in Plymouth. Nice. And so he will come to my district in the fall and I will go to his district. And so there's several Republicans and several Democrats from throughout the state that this organization that's been around for, I think, 72 years. But really what they're trying to do is build trust and build, we're going to eat together. We're going to have community roundtables together. We're going to meet with civic and business leaders together. And I will be doing that in Plymouth, and he will be doing that up here. We both agreed to do that. I serve on the health committee with Representative Ned Carroll, and he and I both supported changing the law for the optometrist scope of practice. We both supported it. We both voted to do that. So we've worked together on issues, and I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's a start. Can I change everything? No. People that go into politics are all passionate. We're all passionate. I understand that. We might not agree on everything on how we get to the end game. And so sometimes we have to give each other a little bit of grace. And for all the legislators who have walked through this last session, in different ways, there's different emotions for different reasons. But the fact of the matter is we have to find a way to govern together for Minnesota. And, so sometimes when I speak it too, it's like what the governor has to take the lead. I would consider Senator Hoffman a colleague friend of mine too, and I listened to what he did. He did a fantastic job. He and I both have worked on healthcare issues, nursing home, assisted living, all of it. And I was hoping it was going to continue that way, and it didn't, and that was unfortunate. And I'm hoping that I will give the governor grace. I hope he will turn that around, and switch that, because it's good for Minnesota if he does.
I am out of time, and I'm so glad to hear you're doing with that other legislator. That is the stuff that'll make the start. It's a slow start, but that's how we get there. I'm so glad you're doing it. I thank you for being on the program. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great day.
She's Representative Zeleznikar on the Al Travis Show.